Dragon Ball Z is probably like top tier, probably number one at this point.
Yeah.
At this point, it's probably like action
definitely.
and anime. And the thing is, you already know off bat it's a fighting show. It's a show about fighting. It's a show about, they're going to trade hands. They're going to trade blows. Now, on the flip side, when you talk about YuYu Hakusho, that show doesn't start out as a fighting show.
So we got a couple interesting topics. We got two main topics tonight that should be intriguing some for anime lovers, especially people who love the 90s anime. Also, a Marvel question.
Cool. Yeah.
Anything else you want to hit on? Yeah. Anything else you want to hit on in this episode? Quick episode.
No, I mean, that sounds good to me. I mean, I did want to talk about the music stuff, but I mean, we could say that for another time. But yeah, those are two easy, quick topics that we could handle. No problem. I mean, to be honest, I was actually watching some YuYu Hakusho today.
Yeah, man. It's a great show. And you were talking about the what makes music old school, considered old school?
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember you had sent that to me, but yeah, I was just like listening to some music today and kind of like thinking about kind of like what does make music old school. I mean, for me, I think it's time, but I guess it's just how often it's played and how popular it is and how it affects the people who listen to it during a certain time period. But like I said, we could talk about that later. Yeah,
the reason I even thought of that topic is one of my troops about 2 years ago. Sorry, he said that Drake is old school, and that triggered this question. I've been thinking about this question ever since. So yeah, that can almost be a whole episode itself. So anybody who are music lovers, you look forward to that.
Yes, because that is definitely a topic that I want to discuss. Because I remember talking. That's probably like a while back. I remember I asked you, "Are we at the age to where we have grown folk music?"
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. That could be a part of it. That could probably be our next episode, really.
Probably.
What makes go ahead.
And just one last thing. So I think it's next month. Yeah, it's next month. So DC is having a 2000s dance party. Yeah. And
you gonna
probably gonna try and go see that. Yeah, I might try.
Yeah, nice.
Bust out some of the old moves,
That's hilarious. Get the break dancing.
It's called Hot in Her.
Hot in Her. That makes sense. Shout out to Nelly.
Hot in Her. Yeah.
You ever think about how crazy some dance moves are? Like people were really out here break dancing, bro.
Oh man,
that's like a superpower.
That whole decade is filled with so many dances. Like you have Young Jock's dance. You have Soulja Boy. You have
remember the Harlem Shake. Remember the Harlem Shake? Must be jerking on shoulders. Super hard. Boy, to pop your shoulder back in place.
Harlem Shake. Yeah, you right. And then Stanky Leg.
Stanky Leg, chicken noodle soup. Think about
this. I remember that.
Our kids are going to make fun of us. Our kids are definitely going to make fun of us.
They probably will.
But yeah, our music lovers, though, we can't. Yeah, that's an episode that we definitely need to do.
Oh no, we definitely gonna talk about that. But yeah, man, like I was saying earlier today, I was watching some YuYu Hakusho. I was watching. It's closer to the episode I think that you said you're on, where they go to Demon World.
Yeah,
but
that's it's been an interesting. I'm like watching it for every detail this time around, just trying to, so we can be able to talk about it. It's very interesting. This part of the story.
So let me ask you something. Yeah. So I know that we're going to talk about basically why do you think that Dragon Ball Z outshined Yu Yu Hakusho during the 90s, even though Yu Yu Hakusho had like a more of a developed plot and storyline. Mm-hmm. Basically, this question is more for talking about Goku. Do you think Goku developed as a character, his personality throughout Dragon Ball Z?
I think Goku did develop, but I'm going back from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z. He's always been that archetype. He's always been like that protagonist anime, type of character. Mm-hmm. I think his flaws are also his, like, why people love him, right?
Like he's too trusting.
Goku can that, and we look at Goku as if he can overcome anything. He's the opposite of Superman. Superman, you pretty much know he's going to win almost every time. Goku, there's sometimes where you don't know if he's going to win. There's sometimes where he does lose. There's times where he isn't strong enough. So I think if we're just talking about overall development, I think there's some. It may not be significant, but there's definitely some character growth there. What do you think?
So I feel like I really have to pay attention as far as like his character development. I don't feel like it was as significant as if you would think of Yusuke, but definitely between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, you will see some character development, because think about it. He becomes a father in the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. So, he definitely develops as a character there, and you kind of like see like a different role that he's playing, not just as like a warrior fighter type, but now he's in the role of a parent. So you kind of see the difference there. But for me, I just feel like Goku kind of like been the same as far as like his personality throughout Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, because I don't know, you just really don't see him like change as much.
Do you think people's personalities actually change, or do you think things add to their personality as they get older?
So inherently, we develop a personality around the age of 9, 10, 11 years old. Around that time, we kind of develop our sense of purpose, our sense of belonging, our sense, like kind of like our thought process in a way. To answer your question, I definitely feel like we change with the experiences we go through, and we change as far as like the way we see the world, with how we develop our minds and the different things we're taught. So, I feel like we do change as a person as life goes on.
Okay. So to compare Goku and Yusuke, what type of growth did you do throughout the series did you see in Yusuke?
Oh, that's a good one. So Yusuke, obviously, we see him in the beginning. He's kind of a punk, kind of a brat, kind of like he fights for himself in a way. He really doesn't. He doesn't care about the rules. He doesn't care about following, grown-ups or adults. He wants to do things for himself. Throughout the series, you see him kind of like develop that vulnerable part of him. You kind of see him gain friends. He kind of like has to lean on others. He kind of has to develop that trust in other people, because in the beginning he didn't really want to have that because of the kind of the life he had. His dad was a no-show. His mother was kind of like, really wasn't. She supported him, but she still kind of absent at the same time. But you kind of see him develop as a character and his personality, because he, like I said, he learns how to trust people, be vulnerable, and he just doesn't fight for himself anymore. He fights for others, and that's just how he develops. What about you?
I think Yusuke definitely does develop, but I think his personality doesn't change. I don't think. I think he's the same. He has the same personality. I don't think that really changed much. I think we just saw him slowly open up more. Pooh, right? His dragon, when he was still looked like a little penguin. That is the perfect example of that. He is who Yusuke truly is, right? Yusuke is really a softie. He's always really been. He just covered it up, he was hard on the outside, right? He's a tough guy on the outside, but in reality, in the first episode, he risked his life to save. He lost his life saving someone, right? So he does. I think he's always cared. I just think he had that hard shell, and I think throughout the series, he slowly opened up, and accepted his friendships. He accepted his relationships with people, his friendships with people. He's still the same hothead throughout the series. But I think for him, the moment where he finally opened up and let the wall down was when Tagoro. He thought Tagoro killed Kuwabara. Yeah. I think that's when he finally just let go. Because you saw all of the emotions. You saw him cry. You saw him pleading for Kuwabara's life, and I think that's who Yusuke has always been. It's just when you're growing up in a certain environment, you kind of isolate yourself, and keep a hard shell about you. So I think there definitely was some character growth, but I also don't think his personality changed much. I think we just saw his personality come to the light, his true self come to the light, if that makes sense.
You know what's significant about the fight between him and Tagoro, that part where he thinks Kuwabara gets killed? The fact that he puts the guilt on himself. I guess he's starting to feel that he wasn't strong enough to protect Kuwabara from, to protect Tagoro from killing Kuwabara. So he kind of like feels guilt and pain on the inside because he just feels like he didn't have enough to stop it at that point. And to me, that feels, when I'm looking at that, I just think that he, as a character, shows that really vulnerable sense, and the fact that he does care about people. He does have, like we were saying, he was deep down really soft inside, and he didn't, on the outside, he didn't want to show that he was vulnerable, but in that moment, he really does show that he cares.
I compare that moment to Dragon Ball, right? When Krillin died the first time, when he was killed by one of Piccolo's henchmen, right? King Piccolo's henchmen. I compare that moment to when Tagoro killed Kuwabara. That is the moment in Goku's life that's the first time Goku really seeked revenge. He was always a carefree, lighthearted person, always happy. He just enjoyed to fight, but he was always a happy kid. I think that moment, in that moment, he realized that life is real. Because when his best friend was murdered, that changed Goku. I think that followed him throughout the rest of the Dragon Ball Z. Now, not too much in Dragon Ball Super. They made him an idiot in Dragon Ball Super, but in Dragon Ball Z, Goku continued to show mercy to people, over and over again. That's his fault. He shows mercy too easily. But I think the moment when Krillin died the first time is when Goku really made the biggest change in his life. And I compare that to, and I compare that to when Kuwabara was killed, or we thought Kuwabara was killed by Tagoro. So I think as far as character growth, I think they both have really good character growth. I just don't believe their personalities really changed. Yeah, I think they're the same person. Like I said, just Yusuke is a little more vulnerable. Goku started to take life a little more serious. Yeah, so
I see what you're saying. So as far as like their stance on fighting, I feel like in the beginning Goku kind of like fighting to become the strongest. Fighting like fighting to prove himself, training under Master Roshi, that training alongside Krillin. But then eventually he became Earth's champion and kind of like had to take on a different role and basically be the savior of the world. Whereas on the flip side, it's the same thing for Yusuke. He went from being this street punk, fighting for himself, fighting for, to make his way, to show and prove that he was the toughest, to being the spirit detective of Earth and protecting the Earth and fighting for his friends along the way. So they're kind of the same in that aspect.
Yeah, they're very similar characters, actually. And that's why the question came up to me. Why did Dragon Ball Z outshine YuYu Hakusho in the 90s and early 2000s?
You want to answer that?
Their protagonists are pretty much they're very similar protagonists. The difference is Yusuke grew up in the streets. He grew up a little rough. Goku really grew up alone after his grandpa Gohan passed away. He was by himself. The life wasn't. Goku didn't have to worry about much. He lived a very simple life. Yusuke, on the other hand, he had a complex life. No father. Mother is out doing whatever. No real friends that, you know, the only real friend he considered a friend at the beginning was Keiko. So he just grew up a little more rough than Goku, but they're very similar characters. And that's why I wonder, why was Dragon Ball Z so much more popular than Yu Yu Hakusho?
So I could give a take on that, kind of just my quick opinion. So the way I feel is this: Dragon Ball Z had a show that preceded it, Dragon Ball. So now you're already familiar with Goku. You're already familiar with this character. Mm-hmm. And the thing is this: when you're talking about action, Dragon Ball Z is probably like top tier, probably number one at this point. At this point, it's probably like action in anime. And the thing is, you already know off bat it's a fighting show. It's a show about fighting. It's a show about, you know, they're going to trade hands. They're going to trade blows. Now, on the flip side, when you talk about Yu Yu Hakusho, that show doesn't start out as a fighting show. So you being a 12...
it actually takes a while.
Exactly. 12, 13, 14-year-old boy. You're like, what is this? This feels like a love story in a way. This feels kind of like a lackadaisical, happy-go-lucky. You know, there's some oxymorons in the beginning. So you really don't see that action in the beginnings. And it is, like you said, it takes a while. Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably why it took a while for people to jump on that Yu Yu Hakusho boat during the 90s. And the other thing is too, and then I'll let you give your opinion. The one thing I know is that when Togashi was creating the anime in the manga, it took a while for it to get produced because he was having health issues during this time. And I think he was still fairly young, to be real with you, but he was having those issues. So the production of the manga took a little bit, because he was in and out of whatever hospital, whatever was going on with him. So that's why I think that Dragon Ball Z kind of like took that top spot, even though Yu Yu Hakusho clearly has a deeper storyline, more character development, and not just on the main character, but the characters that surround Yusuke, like Ie, Kurama, Kuwabara. But that's just my take on it.
That's actually a really good take. One of my points was actually similar to yours, saying that the Dragon Ball Z fan base was carried over from Dragon Ball, basically. So, like you said, they already had a fan base. And in my opinion, Dragon Ball is a really good show. You know, it's not just all action, just like Dragon Ball Z. It's a story to it. You know, you're seeing this boy grow up basically in front of your eyes, making friends along the way. But another reason I think Dragon Ball Z was outshined Yu Yu Hakusho is because it seemed like Yu Yu Hakusho was geared to a more mature audience. It seemed like something that, a little older people, you know, really 16 and up. Where Dragon Ball Z, I started watching Dragon Ball Z, I was about 6, 7, so I was fairly young. And I watched Yu Yu Hakusho too. I just didn't understand what was going on because it had a complex storyline. Dragon Ball Z is a very simple storyline. You got a villain, Goku's going to beat him. It's pretty much what it is. There's like Dragon Ball Z, like you said, it's full of action. It's a decent storyline, but it's really just full of action. And another reason is I think Dragon Ball Z had better transformations, right? Yusuke didn't really. He got his ultimate transformation at the end of the series, basically, when it were about 20 episodes out from the end is when he got his, final transformation.
Basically, at the end of the third season. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. And then the only other person that had a real transformation was Kurama.
Yeah.
Right?
He went back to being Yoko.
When he turned. Yep. I think in Dragon Ball Z, we looked forward to Super Saiyans. We reenacted as kids, acting like we can power up and turn into Super Saiyans. Kids didn't necessarily do that with Yu Yu Hakusho. Kids went around and they think they could do the Kamehameha wave, They think they can fly and all kinds of stuff. It gives a lot of elements that kids enjoy. Whereas in Yu Yu Hakusho it's geared more toward a mature audience. It has mature content to it. In Dragon Ball Z, there's no real love story to it. I mean, Goku and Chi-Chi, Vegeta and Bulma, but there's no real romance to that. 18 and Krillin, there's no real romance to it. Whereas Yusuke and Keiko, their relationship changes a lot throughout the series.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Close. Like it was like a romantic thing when you think about that series. But I was gonna ask you something real quick. So when you were a kid, when Goku asked Earth to help with the spirit bomb, did you raise your hands?
Yep.
That's funny. And you want to know something crazy? Just full disclaimer. So I remember watching Dragon Ball Z after school in Toonami, and the thing is, I had missed him turning Super Saiyan. I had missed that episode. It was like basically an episode where he was still fighting Frieza, but he was still a Super Saiyan. And I was looking at Goku, I was like, what happened? Who is this guy? Like, why is he blonde with blue eyes? Because I had missed it real time. So
yeah. And those transformations, like that stuff, I think that's why it was more popular than a Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, it's just we look forward to the transformations. We look forward to the action and the fighting. And it's just like, especially with young boys, we enjoyed the fighting element of Dragon Ball Z. And like I said earlier, I watched Yu Yu Hakusho as a kid. But a lot of the times I didn't really understand what was going on. It wasn't until I got older and I remembered I was about 16, 17. I was like, what was that one show called? I remember the dude with the spirit gun. And like I said, I'm 29 now. So well over 10 years ago is when I really started tuning in. Like, I rewatched it and I just thought to myself, this is actually better than Dragon Ball Z. It's a better show. It's a better storyline, got a better characters. It's just overall a better show.
Let me tell you something. It was because of this guy right here that I started lifting weights, bro. Like, everybody want to be like Goku, man. Everyone wanted to be big.
Shout out to Goku.
Yeah, man. Like, I think a lot of dudes, it was because of him. They wanted to basically just be that basically go Super Saiyan and just be, I don't know, all powerful or whatever.
Goku is that guy, bro. He's not overcomplicated. He's a very simple character.
But,
and I think that's why it's easy to like him. Even though my favorite character was Gohan, and they been doing my boy dirty. I'm going to watch the new movie. Hopefully they do him justice.
That comes out in theaters.
Yeah, I think this week. Friday, right? I
believe so.
Thursday night, Friday. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
But I agree with everything you said about Yusuke's development and basically him as a character in the show. Like, it is for more mature audiences. Like, I remember hearing different videos and sharing different stories basically about, like, they remember going back to watch Yu Yu Hakusho when they were older because they could probably relate to what's going on, and they relate to, young love, relate to kind of like the different elements and the different teaching points in Yu Yu Hakusho. That show is very deep when you think about it.
I think it's overall just a better show when you think about it. It has way less filler than Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah.
It didn't overstay its welcome, right? It was 112 episodes. I think Dragon Ball Z is 290 something. So it didn't overstay its welcome. At the end, things did kind of get dragged out. Excuse me. And I think that's why they did stop where they did. But it stopped and Dragon Ball just kept going. And I also think they just got better overall characters, right? At one point in Dragon Ball Z, there were only 2 to 3 characters that really mattered, right? That you knew was going to fight. You had Goku, you had Gohan, you had Vegeta, Trunks at one point, Future Trunks at one point, and Piccolo.
Yeah.
Pretty much anyone after that didn't matter, right? They weren't strong enough to fight the big bad guys. They weren't strong enough to fight Frieza. They weren't strong enough to fight Yamcha Tien and the little clown dude, whatever his name was, Chaozu. They could even beat Nappa. So at one point, it was really 3 to 4 characters that we're going to fight.
See, when I think about Yu Hakusho, even their villains, like the main villains, like Tagore and Sensui, I think of like basically those villains, even as characters, made the show a lot better because they weren't just villains like, oh, I'm just gonna destroy everything. They basically had a somewhat of a decent reason. Well, their reasoning for what they were doing, you could kind of like see.
You can understand.
A point to it. Like since
they had a reason.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a reason. Everybody has a reason, but it's like and here's another thing. They didn't start off bad. That's probably what I should have said.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you look at all the Dragon Ball villains,
they just start off bad.
All of them pretty much started off bad. The one character in Dragon Ball Z that did have growth was Vegeta.
Yeah.
He's really he had the biggest growth throughout the series. Him and maybe
Piccolo.
Well, Piccolo and Gohan from the Saiyan to the Cell sagas, it had a large growth. But I think Yu Hakusho, their characters, right? Like I was saying, it was 3 or 4 characters of Dragon Ball Z that pretty much everyone else was obsolete. Whereas Yusuke, Hiei, Kurama were all close in power throughout the entire series.
Yep. Pretty much.
They all were pretty much like, if you think about it, technically Kurama and Hiei didn't even lose in the Dark Tournament. Kurama lost, but it was because he was down before the other person died. That's the only reason he lost. But he didn't lose in that tournament.
He lost twice. So he lost because he was like incapacitated or whatever. But that's because they were screwing him over in the dark. They were basically trying to make Urameshi team
they
lose.
cheated.
They cheated.
Yeah, he did lose. Okay, I forgot about that part. He did lose twice, but they were cheating. He fought 2 or 3 people in a row.
Yeah.
And then the second time was because he actually killed the guy, but he was down for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like Kurama was already down before the dude died. So technically he lost, but really he didn't if they didn't cheat, he wouldn't have lost. And Hiei didn't lose. The Hiei destroyed everyone he went against.
Yeah.
So throughout the entire series, they all were relatively close in power. And eventually even Kuwabara caught up with them, right?
Kuwabara
If
we're gonna talk about Kuwabara, as far as like his power, like him getting that sword, the sword that could cut through dimensions, I think that's the clue.
Yeah. That
kind of gave him a little edge. I mean, his fighting ability, not so much, but that dimension sword. I mean, you can cut through anything.
His will to fight and will to win is huge for him. Yeah, because he's not at the end of the series. I think they said what Hiei, Yusuke were S tier, S level, right? And I think Kurama, when he was in his Yoko form, was S level.
S level.
But at the end of the series, I think Kuwabara would be considered in the A tier.
A class. I
read that. Yeah, A class. Yeah, I think at the end. So A class is pretty strong. Mm-hmm. He could defeat young Taguro. Like young Taguro was a B class, right?
Yeah.
So they were relatively close throughout the entire series. And that's what I appreciate. Now, although Dragon Ball Z had 3 to 4 characters that were close in power, but they had so many characters that became obsolete. Whereas in Yu Yu Hakusho, they used their characters the right way. Even they had 4 heroes, but they all were always close in power. No one really outshined the other.
That's true.
Obviously, Yusuke was the protagonist, but every character had their moment.
Yeah, every character had their story. Like you see the backstory on Kurama, you see the backstory on Hiei, you see why they were the way they were and what they had to do to become, the fighter that they were. That's why Yu Hakusho, like I said, has the deeper storyline, the better plot, less filler, it's more interesting.
Yeah, and I think. So overall, I think we both agree that Yu Yu Hakusho is a better show than Dragon Ball Z. But Dragon Ball Z is just pretty much more popular.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to digest. It's easy to digest, right? For
you don't have to think as much.
You really got to pay attention. Yeah, exactly. For Yu Yu Hakusho, you got to actually pay attention to what's going on, and you got to actually, understand why each character is the way they are the way they are, however that goes. But yeah, I just think it's a better show. And I think the 90s, early 2000s were interesting for anime because a lot of the huge anime fans are around our age, right? I want to say 28 to 35, maybe all the way to 40 was the generation who's carrying anime. Because we got to experience the older anime as well as the most recent anime coming out. And
like the anime from the 210s.
Yep. And we can see where all these anime are getting inspired by the older anime, right? Yusuke and Goku are like the prototype protagonists for all the characters today. Yep. If you really sit down and think about it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, with Yu Yu Hakusho, every time I sit down and watch it, I'm realizing things I didn't see the first however many times I watched it before. I'm kind of like learning new tidbits here and there and different life lessons. Like we spoke on the vulnerability, learning how to trust people, learning to like, you can't do it all on your own. And it's not being weak to rely on your team. That's actually strength to admit when you need some help. So those are life lessons and things that you learn from Yu Yu Hakusho. And basically you kind of like understand him as a character and understand like Yusuke learns those things along the way.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a good show. Definitely. Well, we're at the time right now, so we can talk about the Magneto thing another time. So for our subscribers and our listeners, wherever you listen to your podcast, in the next couple of episodes, we're going to talk about we're going to pose a question, and I'll post a short and get people's comments, get people's feedback. Can Magneto lift Thor's hammer? Is going to be the question I want you guys to answer and give us your opinions.
Yeah, I mean that's a legit question actually. I'm gonna have to think about that one, to be honest with you. I'm gonna have to kind of like do some research. We'll see, but I'll let you know how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I just thought about it one day, like, can he do it? Because he clearly wouldn't be worthy, I don't think. But he does. He can control metal, so it's a very interesting question. Like I said, all our subscribers and listeners, offer your opinions and your thoughts on that, and we'll definitely check it out.
Word, yeah. And not only that, tell us what you, like we said at the beginning, tell us what you want to talk about. Tell us what things that you want us to discuss. I mean, we're all in this together, so we want to bring an open forum and open discussion. That way, we're all becoming more intelligent.
Yeah, the come up is a community. We may record the podcast, but all of you are on the journey with us. From 4 subscribers to however many subscribers we have right now, we're going to keep pushing to 1,000, to 10,000, to 100,000. You guys are on this journey with us. It's more than just Fergus and myself. It's a group effort. So, like he was saying, whatever you guys want us to talk about, just put in the comment section or hit us up on social media, which I will be creating. But like Fergus said, we could talk about music, we could talk about current events, comedy, anime. The list goes on. Movies, TV shows. The list goes on, and we don't take things too serious around here. We're not going to be arguing with you guys in the comment section. Your opinion is your opinion.
Yep.
We respect it. As long as you're being respectable, it's okay with us. Just don't be rude. Like, we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to know everything off the top of our head. But I don't mind you guys correcting us. That's the point. But just be respectful about it. We don't mean any harm when we say things. We're not trying to force our opinion down people's throats. We're just here talking, having a conversation.
No, definitely any type of music lovers out there, give us some good opinions on who we should be listening to right now. I'm gonna start dropping these playlists and I'm start sending them to you. That way you could post them with the different episodes. But yeah, we're gonna have different music we got there. We have all different kind of tastes in music. So we're gonna start making playlists. That way we could kind of like show you what we listen to, and you could show us some different artists we need to be put on. That way we kind of like broaden our horizons when it comes to the music.
Yeah, I definitely need some new R&B as well as some new house music, some dance music. I love house music. Definitely need some good music to listen to, because right now I don't really have time to sit there and try to figure out or discover new artists. I'm just going with the flow. So definitely that I'm looking forward to that.
No, I got you, man. Like I'm gonna finish that R&B playlist. I'm gonna send it to you, and whoever R&B lovers out there who likes that type of neo soul, that new trap soul stuff. If you guys like that, you'll definitely like the playlist I'm about to put together.
Yeah, let's get it. You know, I love me some trap soul. Shout out to Bryson Tiller. That's my favorite artist. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all this stuff, man. And like we were saying, we're going to continue to grow, and hopefully you guys grow with us. We're going to continue to focus on our branding, focus on just getting our stuff out there, and just maybe one day we can do a little tour, hit up some of you guys' cities, and you guys can meet us, and we can have a conversation. Shoot, I'm even down to invite people to come on the show, right? I mean, if you guys got a platform, we can come on your platform, you can come on our platform, however you want to do it. But like I said, we just want to continue to grow and get better at this. We started last year around this time. We've come a long way, and we're going to continue to keep pushing.
I'm down for collaborations. I'm down to do the open talk, bring you guys onto the show. We go on your show, however you guys want to do it. That way we can all grow and make this thing huge. Pause.
Yep. Well, yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Cool.
And wherever you get your podcast, give us a download.
Yes, sir. Sounds good to me.
All right, man. Time to check out.
All right, bro, man. I hope you have a good and blessed week, bro. I will see you next time. Let me know when you want to shoot again. We can shoot sometime in the week if you have anything you want to talk about. Yes,
sir. Same way. So if you got something, I can always make time. Quick 30 minutes is nothing.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. I'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.